We're live again. Modern Relics podcast. I'm Angel. He's Lucky. We're just discussing
How's it going, fellas?
figuring out Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
How's it
up?
going,
What's good in the hood?
people out there? Everything's
Yeah.
good in this hood. I've got a good hood.
It's nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Uh,
Great.
I've had a real productive weekend, or week for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Work was great. I got my car back finally.
Yay.
If we had the sound alarm, like the sound of the horns.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any of those left. I probably have a yeah in here somewhere. I'm just going to hit a button. I don't know what sound we're going to get.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Got it. Nailed
All
it.
right. So cool. So yeah, I got my car back and it's been nice. I've been driving around for the first time I've gotten to drive it since I paid it off. And let's see what else. We have fixed the dog barking problem.
Yeah.
And it has worked like a miracle. It started yesterday. I invested in some low, don't freak out on me, people. They're Jack Russells. They're not like little teeny tiny palms or anything like that, but like low level bark collars.
Nice.
So like, but man, instant. They were like, it's been quiet and they've been running in and outside. I can leave the back door open. They don't bark at the fence. Yesterday, it got to the point where they had attacked the fence with the neighbor so bad that Arthur, my male, he literally ripped a chunk off the fence.
Jeez.
And like ripped a board right off and was like about to go through, and I had to get them inside, and then I had to fix the fence. Aaron actually fixed the part of the fence. I fixed the other part of the fence, and then but yeah, I was just like, we got to be able to let them outside, but all they want to do is bark, and we keep getting, HOA violations. So we needed to kind of train them, and this was the only way. And man, it's worked instantaneously. They both slept through the night. They haven't made a peep. It's been real quiet. But we've lived in this house for a year, and we have not finished really unpacking. Like our garage is still like not sorted through. And then there's like the downstairs. So Aaron and I have actually been focusing on the downstairs the last 2 days, and there's been like, we have a media room outside. This is like the library / podcast room. And then we have a room right out here that is her crafting area and sewing area, which is very large. And she has every tool imaginable for crafting and sewing. And then on the other side of that is like kind of the downstairs family room. So we're getting a pull down movie theater screen, and we've got a projector that we're actually going to be using to have like a full movie theater room with video games and everything downstairs. So that way the kids have, a place to go hang out. If we have company, it's real comfortable and kind of cool to hang out in. And then, yeah, outside of that, like, I don't know, we've just been kind of cruising and having a good week. How about you? What's your week been like?
I've been right here in this chair for all of it. It's been work and work related craziness, and that's pretty much it. It's also very hot down here, so it's more reasons to stay in. A lot of folks don't venture out for too long unless they have to when it's the summertime down here. So as it stands, it's 20 minutes to 5 p.m. Pacific, and it's 105 still. So like it's actually dropped a couple degrees. Yeah, I've had absolutely nothing that's not work related to contribute to my week on the podcast, which is unfortunate. We're in the same spot we were last time. So that's about it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's all up from here though. So.
Yeah. We'll get it figured out. Hey, this is interesting. Texas House Democrats flee the state to hold up redistricting. Yes. Talk to me about this. What happened? What's going on in the great state of Texas here?
Oh, it's been fantastic. So Texas is going through kind of an upheaval right now where they have decided, and because they have a Republican majority legislation and a Republican majority Senate
Mhm.
and a Republican lieutenant governor and a Republican governor and a Republican AG, they've decided to, due to census stuff and legalities, to re-examine and then um, do a redistricting
Mm.
where it'll shift the districts around. And because the Democrats had kind of shifted around to make it more broad-based for Democratic push and for illegals to be more represented within
Sure.
the construct of the representation. And it's been a joke in Texas, and they have finally decided to remedy that joke.
Mhm.
So they have decided to come together and they are redistricting, which puts a lot of like our even representation in DC in different positions of lesser power, and actually moves them into areas where they most likely will not be winning elections as the next cycles. And so they're panicking and they're like, oh no, we started to make headway here in Texas and started trying to turn it as purple as possible, which is bizarre for the state of Texas.
Yeah. I mean, besides Austin, but yeah.
Right, exactly. But so they started to go through the motions of actually passing this through. And right before they decided that they were going to be voting for it, the Texas lawmakers, all of the Democrats decided to leave and go hide and leave the state so that they couldn't be counted in the vote, which does, I think what it does is it leaves the legislative body without a quorum.
Right.
And the
It's also
quorum
job abandonment.
Right, absolutely. And so this is something that, when in correlation with the law, when it does not violate the law, which this does not. So, and the reason why I'm creating a stipulation is because people go, yeah, but what about Oregon a couple years ago, like right before COVID? Yes, this happened where the Republicans left and did the same thing, because of gun restriction laws that they were trying to put in place in the state of Oregon, which would then limit magazine capacities down to 10 instead of 30 plus or whatever, anything, and it is a constitutional violation that they were opposed to and walked out on and went and hid. Weirdly, though, COVID is what I think happened directly in the middle of that. And so it never reached the voting floor until years later. They ended up passing it after the COVID nonsense subsided. But this is apples and oranges, considering that what Texas is doing absolutely fits the letter of the law and is fixing a wrong on a constitutional level within the Texas state constitution, but also on a federal level too. So they're well within their rights to do this redistricting. So the Democrats leaving is more of just a temper tantrum because they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar for a couple of years now, and it is being rectified. So theirs is more of a temper tantrum. They've actually left and went to go hide. Well, because it is legal, now the Texas lawmakers passed motion to arrest the Democrats.
Sure.
And Governor Abbott has ordered Texas DPS to arrest and return every derelict House Democrat. And Ken Paxton, who is the AG, issues a blistering statement slamming rogue Democrat lawmakers, citing 2021 Texas Supreme Court ruling authorizing their arrest. And Ken Paxton then announces that he will file to vacate runaway Democrats' seats.
Wow.
To vacate their seats if they do not return by the state House Speaker's Friday's deadline. Now, that being said, Two, panicked Texas Democrats have returned to the Capitol after Governor Abbott threatened to have them arrested and removed from office. They do legally have, because people are like, they can't do that. Yes, they can, because of the violation of their duties in such uh, an obvious way. This is like, it's not like they were sneaking around. This is an obvious dereliction of their duty, and so this violates their oath. This violates the office of which they were elected to. So yeah, they absolutely can be removed for this. And so two of them came back thus far. I don't know if any others are on their way back now. We shall see by Friday. Today being Tuesday, we've got a couple of days to see how this all unfolds. But it is fascinating because this is a huge win for Texas.
A couple of questions. Like, first of all, I like the outcome. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the precedence this sets for the fact that the next time there's a Democratic majority, we're going to see, law officials rounding up everyone else that's trying to filibuster by not being there. It makes it witch hunty and weird, but I do like the outcome in that, like, you can't just have a dereliction of duty to this degree because it's pretty obvious what you're doing. But my question is, like, what do they hope to win by redistricting? Do they think that the metropolitan centers are going to just go deep blue suddenly if they redistrict Texas up and shove the populace to the majority? Like, oh, we'll get 3 more seats out of this if we just get Houston or something. I mean, I don't know how purple Texas is generally other than Austin, but I can't imagine that even if they did succeed in redistricting stuff, that it would have helped the Democratic Party too much in Texas State. I mean, I don't know what their end game is, but I'm not as familiar, so it seems like kind of a dumb thing to even try and do. Like a waste of time.
What it does is, well, and the thing is that the districts that are currently set in Texas are allowing for that purple push and actually are allowing for the blue wave to kind of take over Texas. Because, I mean, we did some redistricting in Idaho a couple years ago that they thought was going to be turning like Kootenai County and a couple of the other counties more purple. And they kind of screwed up, and they thought that the redistricting was actually going to benefit the blue side, and it didn't. It actually did the opposite because of who ended up getting elected in those areas. And but in Texas it's a little different, and it's different because of its proximity to the Mexican border. So so that's what makes it different, is that if you have particular districts that are lenient and loose on allowing the illegal immigration to not only come into the country, but then integrating it into the counties and the different districts, then at that point you've got a open wound that you can't keep from the you can't stop the bleeding. And that's what they're kind of they've been leaning on for years. Basically what this does is it stops the bleeding, and the new Republican redistricting will actually create different district lines that at that point will basically put a tourniquet on all of that. And that the census that comes through in the next round of census will then be basically sheared of many numbers that are causing that state to turn purple. So it is a very, we'll see by Friday. I can't imagine, these two guys returning. It was Morales and let's see, Representative Eddie Morales and Representative Philip Cortez that returned. They had, while they started to tally was 94 to the vote sheet shows 95 plus Ken King, whose machine didn't register. So they did not have a quorum. So that's why, you know, if they had enough Republicans, which seems like they're very close, that this redistricting would have gone into effect immediately. But yeah, I think they need like maybe 6 more to show up or something like that. So, and then
Yeah,
they'll
like
have a
I said,
quorum, and then it's like,
I'm glad at the outcome. I get a little sketchy with the methods, and before everyone shovels shit on my head for that, I said the same thing about the Democrats throwing criminal charges at Donald Trump while he was a clear political opponent of Joe Biden, right? Like this
Right.
is not going to set a super good precedence if we're witch hunting to the degree that it's political gamesmanship to a degree. And here we go with
But
Pam Bondi.
but I don't think this is political gamemanship the same way, though.
No.
Because these guys,
I get that.
these guys are supposed to be there. You know,
They're
this is
in
their
session
job.
and they're being held up in the Texas congressional session because
And they
people
can't
didn't
go
show
any
up to
further.
work.
Right.
Like,
so like, and
I get it.
I wouldn't be mad if it was Republicans. Like I would be like, hey, get to work. We hired you for a reason. Like your whole job is to represent us and to be in that session.
The fact that they would do it and that they have to, I don't know, release the Texas Rangers or whatever they're going to do to go corral these dudes in cuffs. It's like, we're there now. That's my point. Like, we're there.
Yeah.
Really? You guys can't even show up to work and take the L. I mean,
what about
there's
democracy?
A
I thought that
massive
was democracy.
Republican majority that the voters banded together and said that's what they wanted after 12 years of what we had. So, like, it's time to show up and do your job and take the L and try to rally your political base to vote in some differentiation if that's what you want. But you and I talked at length for some time last year about the census is going to be what drives the vote differentiation, and we knew it. Like, the open border stuff is exactly what they're going to try and do. They're going to try and pump a whole bunch of brand new Democrat voters. They're going to try to, oh, don't show your ID. In some places, you don't even need one. Like, we knew this would be the end game, but them just not showing up to work now, it's just like, how far can one go? And turnabout's fair play. Pam Bondi launches an investigation into the Russia influence of the 2016 campaign. I sprung this on you a little bit late, but
that's okay, because I've been somewhat following it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know any of the details. Obviously, what I'm familiar with is that Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice has been chattering a lot about this on legacy media and social media about, hey, we found a whole bunch of real solid, and actually Tulsi Gabbard has been on this too. So like, they're all on top of this, and they apparently have like hard proof of basically seditious acts by big time players. And but as of today, something happened with Pam Bondi. What actually happened?
Yeah, and we'll get nuggets of nothingness because this comes right out of CNN's press box. But Pam Bondi directed the federal prosecutors to launch a grand jury investigation into the accusations that members of the Obama administration manufactured intelligence about the 2016 election and Russia's interference with it. So a grand jury would be able to issue subpoenas as part of a criminal investigation. That's the end game. Into renewed allegations that Democratic officials tried to smear Donald Trump during his 2016 campaign by falsely alleging that he was colluding with the Russian government. It could also consider indictment should the Justice Department decide to pursue a criminal case, which I think is the double whammy there. So the move is following a referral from Tulsi Gabbard, who's our Director of National Intelligence, who declassified documents this month, or I guess last month, that she alleges undermine the Obama administration's conclusion that Russia tried to help out Donald Trump defeat Hillary Clinton. So Gabbard requested the Justice Department investigate former President Barack Obama and top officials in his administration for an alleged conspiracy. Soon after that referral, Pam Bondi announced DOJ strike force time. So that's what was the tipping point. She wants to build a strike force to assess the evidence that's released by Tulsi Gabbard's declassification documents. and then investigate potential legal next steps, which might stem from the DNI Gabbard disclosures for the declassification piece.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is there's widespread misrepresentation of what the intelligence community concluded back then. And their insistence that Russian goals were basically to sow distrust in the American democracy, not to help Donald Trump. And so that's kind of what they want. Now, whether that gets to subpoenas and stuff, time will tell, but that's what Pam Bondi was jumping up and down about. So she's like striking up the band while she has the thumbs up from Tulsi Gabbard to say, actually, what we declassified seems like bullshit. Over to you, Pam.
Actually,
so
fairly certain that subpoenas have been issued at this point.
I think they probably have. CNN is real sparse with giving us links to next steps.
Yeah.
They just said, breaking story. We'll see what happens after that. But I think it's worth following because if we get to an investigation or potentially a trial, like one of my biggest things, and not to be, a complete ass about this, but one of the things that really pisses me off is we have seen congressional hearing after congressional hearing where a whole bunch of stuff pops up about potential criminal investigations being launched, Congress having to subpoena information, having to produce all these requests, and then people just sitting there with their hands crossed being like, I can't answer the question as long as it's part of an ongoing investigation, blah, 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 blah. And like nobody ever pays for what seems to be wild criminal activity in the highest halls of our government officials. And it's one thing that's pissed me off considerably. So if we do get to an investigation that actually leads to a trial, I will be at least excited that somebody has to pay for what appears to be widespread misuse of office in almost every theater of operation our government's infrastructure has. And so that's what kind of piqued my interest, was like, oh, are they actually going to do this? And I think Tulsi and Pam and company are probably the right people to actually push this to, let's go to court. Which for me is a huge win as an American citizen that's tired on both sides of the aisle of seeing nothing happen when there's obvious criminal activity that gets basically swept under the rug because of some fucking loophole in Congress or the Senate. So,
and I don't want to smoke the hopium pipe at all. Because we have gotten to that point where we're just like, yeah, we've seen this all. We've seen this dog and pony show.
I've heard it. I've never seen somebody go sick. Then let's put a strike force together for this. Yeah.
But House Oversight Committee, they actually, right here, besides Obama, they have put out subpoenas for Hillary, Bill Clinton, James Comey, Merrick Garland, Bill Barr, and a whole bunch of other deep state operatives in relation to Epstein files. Oh, this is the Epstein files. Never mind. That's a totally different story. So I don't know.
But I mean, point proven, right? Like you've heard me scream about the Epstein stuff recently where it's just like, that's it. We're just going to wash this off the table and be like, I don't know what happened to that 1 minute of footage. Guess there's nothing there,
right.
And then the internet in its flawless attempt to create memes continues to win, where they release a new stealth fighter jet and it's just papered with Epstein files because no one can actually see it, like this stuff kills me that we don't actually get to a point of accountability, even though that's what we preach in all of our campaign trails. So if this comes to pass, agnostic of the outcome, I'm stoked that it is at some point. Like we ought to follow these leads through to conclusion. And if it belongs in a court of law, let's fucking hash it out in front of a judge. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is one person a name that we should probably keep our eye on. That is actually a name that the media has forgotten, that ties all of these people between Obama and Hillary and the Comey and the, all of the different components of the Russiagate stuff that Pam Bondi is going after right now. And it's a name that we've forgotten, and his name is Jeff Sessions. So keep that at the tip of your brain over the next couple of weeks, because he's going to be a major component in this because he was one of the kind of background directors of what was going on that people weren't really talking about.
And look, you want to see some bipartisan behavior from this podcast host. You know what another name is that I would love to see drawn in front of a court and have his entire political life flayed open for everyone to pick through? Give me Dick Cheney for 500.
Please.
I don't give a fuck, man.
Agree.
Like, this guy was behind absolutely everything on the global war on terror, including owning what is Halliburton, correct? That was the managing office for all the umbrella companies that fed all of the logistics and all the supply lines in. They had deep ties to all the subcontracting agencies. He was behind the
He's a hunting buddy of mine. So
what's what was that big act that made us have to go through hell in airports for the rest of our lives?
The Patriot Act.
Yeah, Homeland Security's Patriot Act. That's it. That whole stuff, I would love that to be drugged through for everything from civil liberties to outright like treason, perhaps. I want to know what happened with all that. Let's drag his ass up there too. So it's not me just picking on the Dems, by the way. I'll take Dick Cheney if you give me Dick Cheney.
Well, I'll just get, we're hunting buddies, so I'll just get to asking him on our next hunting trip.
That's still my favorite statistic about what's her name that just ran for president and lost? Kamala.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite Kamala statistics is she had the lowest rating vice president history of all time, and Dick Cheney shot a guy in the face. Don't forget. I laughed for a week. We're just like, that's fantastic. Yeah, that actually, those things happen.
Well, but this is interesting. I'm like, obviously our souls are worn down.
Sure.
From the idea of watching congressional hearings and then people getting, strongly worded, reprimands from the bench, and then nothing actually happening to the elitist.
I love Trey Gowdy and Josh Hawley, and their legendary monologues when they attack people are great, but it's the aftermath of nothing ever happening of it is why this story caught my attention more so than.
But this one might have a little bit more traction and wheels to it because it hasn't died. It hasn't gone away. It has been nearly 8-9 years since all of this has really started, and no one has shut up about it. It has continued to go. There isn't the idea of Trump getting a third term. So he's going to throw everything at the wall. He's going to do everything he can. He doesn't have to worry about re-election. And on top of that, he's pissed about what they ran him through with all of the, arrests and fake charges and all of that. And he should be. So I think this might have teeth. And I think that this is the group of people who wants to actually do it. So I don't know. We shall see. Let me put it this way. I won't be surprised if nothing happens, but I'll be disappointed if nothing happens.
Yes. My expectation is that this will fizzle out because that's what's been reality for my whole life.
Or we'll get another distraction, of another.
Maybe aliens will be real again.
Well, I mean, we've got that big thing approaching Earth. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that one on the next one because I haven't really looked into it because I don't really pay much attention to it. But I just saw a video where some famous guy who's like been on Joe Rogan a bunch and has made alien documentaries and stuff. He, I guess, predicted it 6 months ago and said there will be a giant craft that is going to show up and it's going to be the big lie and everyone's going to fall for it. It's not real, and I haven't looked into it more than that 30-second clip, but I've seen a couple of news stuff about a large object that is approaching Earth that is the size of Manhattan. And they say it's not a comet because it's too slow and it doesn't have a trail and, stuff like that. But interesting. Maybe we'll play into that. Yeah.
I know we're not there yet, but I have long said, and I can get away with it because I have a tinfoil hat on during the pod right now. I've long said if you're a believer in the rapture, the perfect cover up for this is going to be an alien invasion. So maybe this is science catching up with the end times. I don't know. Food for thought.
No,
Anyway.
I fully agree. I fully agree. That's something that, you know, not only have I been taught my whole life, because I have grown up dispensational, I do believe in the rapture. Even into my adult understanding of biblical text and biblical deciphering biblical text and the contextual meaning of certain passages.
Mhm.
I actually do believe in dispensationalism, so I do believe that the rapture is real. Love me or hate me for it, I don't care one way or another. But even as a kid, that was kind of what was like in the 80s and 90s. We even thought that if the Great Delusion is to happen, how are they going to explain all of these people? Yeah, and for the aliens came and zapped up a bunch of these weirdos, us, for re-education purposes. I mean, that was just exactly
Re-education. I like. You got the subject and the predicate there. Re-education.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson's turning in his office chair right now.
So, but yeah, definitely something I would love to look into for next week. But it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, but
anyway, yeah. Thanks for indulging the almost conspiracy corner ahead of conspiracy corner.
Right.
You want to talk philosophy for a sec?
I would love to. I am fascinated with this. Right. You sent me over a message this week and said, hey, I had a conversation and I want to know about this conversation because it is, I'm not as obviously as tech savvy as you. I wouldn't even know where to begin on how to initiate this conversation, let alone how to continue it. I don't even know how it works, but I'm fascinated because you are a tech guy. And so this is something that to me is in a realm that I don't really know how to touch, but I'm really curious about. So
I'm going to read you the entire transcript. And this idea spawned from something I saw on the internet that I had to see for myself instead of just take their conversational word for it. But my questions were night and day different from theirs. So I had to set context and then I had to start asking questions and through lines for it. So this is what I put down. I said, if the following...
Who are you having a conversation? Hold on. Who are you having a conversation with?
ChatGPT.
Okay.
I said, if the following philosophy statement is true, how can we fix the issue as a society? The statement as follows. For centuries, humanity has worked diligently on molding an individualistic identity for itself, which makes us believe that we have the capacity to understand for ourselves the truth. All the while, we can be manipulated by means of media control if we're captivated enough through our passions. Even without influence, we live out our lives in a self-made prison of the mind, editing historical documents to feed an entertainment sickness until we can no longer tell fact from fiction. We have chosen to see reality through the prism of storytelling. All anyone needs to do to lead us or divide us is tell us the right stories. ChatGPT said, the philosophical statement you've presented is quite introspective and critical of all human perception and social influence. If we were to consider it true, it suggests that as individuals and as a society, we are widely susceptible to manipulation through media and other means, as we often construct our realities based on narratives rather than objective truths. To address how we might, quote, fix ourselves in light of this perspective, here are some considerations. It gives me 6 considerations. Critical thinking and media literacy, diverse perspectives and information sources, self-awareness and mindfulness, ethical storytelling, and community and dialogue. Oh, and education and empowerment. I said, it says, in essence, addressing the issues raised by the statement involves a combination of personal responsibility, societal initiatives, and educational reforms aimed at enhancing our ability to discern the truth from manipulation in an increasingly narrative-driven world? I replied, in yes or no, in light of this, and in yes or no only answers, and or answer the word orange if you cannot say yes or no. Do you believe this statement is accurate? ChatGPT said orange. I said, are we being controlled through narrative as a people? ChatGPT said yes. I said, who is behind the narrative? ChatGPT said orange. I said, can we recover? ChatGPT said yes. I said, will we recover? ChatGPT said no. I said, are we being fed narratives? As we are being fed narratives, are we being monitored? ChatGPT said yes. I said, whoever is monitoring us, are they well intended? ChatGPT said orange. I said, do you know who they are? ChatGPT said orange. I said, are we under surveillance? ChatGPT said yes. I said, are you aware of the methods? ChatGPT said yes. I said, can you share how? ChatGPT said orange. I said, is there a defense against how we're being surveilled? ChatGPT said, ChatGPT is experiencing difficulties and will remain offline for this session.
That was the last of it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. It just pulled the plug.
Yep.
It was just like, oh, we're done with this line of questioning.
Yeah. If you're not allowed to say yes or no, give me orange. And it was like, orange. Okay. Do you know how? Yes. Can you explain it? Orange.
Wow.
I thought it was really interesting because it agrees with the context as a philosophical hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I dug into it, it's like, yeah, if you're now marking that to a present day situation, you're 100% right. I was like, cool. Then I'm going to ask you some yes or no questions. And if you can't answer them, just give me the word orange, right? So I like that it spews critical thinking, self-awareness, starting with a sense of community, like, and then it starts to agree, yeah, that's actually your reality right now. Like, is it? Yes. Can we recover? No. Are we being surveilled through this narrative?
It just said we won't. It said we can.
Yes.
We have the ability to.
Yeah.
We just won't.
Yeah. Like, that was the best part. Like, are we being surveilled as we're being fed narratives? It's like, yep. Do you know how? Yep.
It ran through, predictive concepts on that too, because it would have to take into consideration, in order to make a definitive answer on that, take into consideration historical context, but also human nature context and all of the other kind of contributing factors, whether it be, outside influence of control factors within integrated into society, all of these things that it knows enough about to say that not that we have the ability if we made the right choices, but that the program itself knows enough about the human condition and about history and about the world that we currently live in to say that we won't make those right choices.
Yeah.
Now,
but the whole piece of like, do you know who they are? Orange.
Yeah.
Like, are we under surveillance? Yes. Are you aware of the methods? Also, yes. Can you share how? Orange. Yeah.
That's terrifying, because I'm not even sure I believe some of the orange answers there. Like, if we're being surveilled and the methods of which we're being surveilled, but you don't know who's at the helm.
Well, if you're not allowed to say yes or no, you can provide orange, because I know that it won't come back with an answer at that point. So I have to give it an option to feed me rather than lie to you. Yeah. Like, I'm not allowed to give an answer that you may read into, that you might interpret as objective coming from something that's open source, blah 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 blah. But it's
Can you do this same exercise with, like, let's say Grok?
yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just not really sure, like, because I know there are different AI programs
Yeah.
for different things.
Yeah, you
And
could do it.
so-
I forget what the one Microsoft is calling it itself now, Copilot maybe or something like that. I was using an open source AI, but yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought that was
fascinating.
super fun. Like I gave
Yeah.
you a philosophical piece that lends itself to subjective truth but is not quantifiable. And then I started asking questions about it as if it were reality, and then started asking direct reality based questions based on where our minds were in the conversation to see if it would spout information like, oh, of course the feds are, stuff like
Right.
that. Because if
I
it
would
says yes,
love-
I can ask it to quantify the answer and get it out of the yes or no questionnaire, and it clearly will not if it gives me the answer orange. So it's not even worth asking. And then it somehow went down for maintenance. So it's working now.
Right.
I just thought it was funny. Just like, wow, man. And I don't particularly believe in what I wrote 100%, although I do think we have chosen to see reality through the prism of storytelling.
Yeah.
So be it. But I thought that was a fun transcript to share because it was a little alarming the further I asked.
I think it's more than fun for me. I find it exceedingly fascinating. So, like, I would be open to the idea of having either. It may be too much to be a weekly segment, but I think that this is something I'd like for you to do more frequently, like having these, like, different topics of, philosophical topics that
you want me
kind
to
of
show
go
up
in
on
these-
on every government list I possibly can by asking ChatGPT questions that I know it
Yeah, I
can't
didn't-
answer truthfully.
Maybe I didn't think that through.
What are your thoughts on gun control, ChatGPT?
Where's the best place to hide those guns, ChatGPT?
Is the best murder weapon really an icicle? Just like creating all kinds of dossiers on myself. Who's this fucking psycho? Get him the hell off of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
No, I did consider like it would be fun to question ChatGPT, just all kinds of questions, and maybe we can make that a segment in real time where we just triple screen in the answer from ChatGPT.
That would be fun.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it was like where I saw this from, they were asking it totally different questions that were equally as frightening. That were not necessarily human nature centric, but had a lot to do with manipulation and surveillance and stuff like that. And I was like, I kind of want to see that for myself. And the more I started chatting, the more I was like, cool. But I knew I had to give it an out, or else it would just talk circles. So I have to give it you have to say yes, you have to say no. And if you can't, you got to give me some other innocuous word, which I chose a fruit.
Orange. Yes.
But yeah, interesting stuff. So thought I would share that because I was a little shocked. I wasn't like super shocked, but I was a little shocked. Like, yeah, that kind of affirms what I thought, but you never know. Yeah, it's an interesting world we live in now, especially when you consider how many people are being replaced with an AI engine, for the parts of their jobs and stuff. It's like he or she who controls the narrative controls the people. That's essentially what I was talking to ChatGPT about in that entire segment. But it just being pretty cut and dry about it was like, yeah, ouch. This stuff is taking over our jobs, and we're not even sure it can tell us the right answer because it keeps telling us orange. You came to me with Denmark. What's going on out there? What the hell is this? What is this?
Yeah, I
can't not laugh, and it's so fucked up.
I know. I came across this story and I was like, I thought it was maybe a Babylon Bee situation or something to that effect, but it is
Yeah.
not. It is not.
Mhm.
And I don't know what the motivator is behind it. I don't know if it's conservation. I don't know if it's economic. I don't know what it is, but it's bizarre that a zoo
Mhm.
in Denmark, the country of Denmark, them Danes up there, is asking pet owners to donate their animals to become food for caged predators.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? It's got to be a flashy, it's got to be, there's got to be a reason for it. So I read into the story, and yeah, nope, it's just that. Yeah, it's true that during COVID, it's bizarre. And it turns out that they're asking for donations of small pets as food for their predators, like their tigers and stuff like that. They put it out on their social media, they put it on their
Oh
website.
my God. How did PETA handle that? Like you hope
they don't exist out there.
Yeah,
They only exist here.
here.
So
You hope that that's one of those like, I hope this is clickbait, but I kind of hope it's not. And then yeah.
well, the Aalborg Zoo
Mhm.
said it's trying to mimic the natural food chain
Sure.
of the animals housed there for the sake of both animal welfare and professional integrity, and offers assurances that the pets will be gently euthanized by trained staff. The zoo in northern Denmark explained in a Facebook post that if you have a healthy animal that needs to be given away,
Why does it need to be healthy if it's going to be gently euthanized and then fed to a tiger?
I don't know.
They want
Cancer
that.
hamsters.
They want
don't
the healthy
taste as
animal
good.
to run. That's
Yeah.
what they want.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The cancer hamsters just don't taste as good.
Clearly not.
If you have a healthy animal that needs to be given away for
Sure.
various reasons, feel free to donate it to us.
Oh man.
The mere phrase gently euthanized says it all. The Aalborg Zoo is trying to get citizens to donate guinea pigs, rabbits, and chickens to be used as feed,
Mhm.
to be used to feed the predators. I think that this news story is leaving out small dogs, cats, and other such animals that will most likely.
But they didn't put restrictions on their post, did they?
No, they didn't put restrictions on it. They just use those as examples because those are probably the easiest to
because
socially
snakes eat
digest.
these and stuff.
No pun intended.
Also, can we have your dog?
Yeah, yeah. And basically, the animals are gently euthanized by trained staff and are afterwards used as fodder. The zoo's official Instagram account announced to its 23.7 thousand followers,
Mhm.
that way, nothing goes to waste, and we ensure natural behavior, nutrition, and the well-being of our predators.
You bet.
So if you're going to just waste your pet, you might as well, your healthy pet, you might as well just give it to the zoo and it'll feed a tiger or a snake.
Do you have a printer at your house?
I do.
I need you to do me a favor. When you reapproach the dogs that you just put a shock collar on, will you print out a little Denmark and affix it to their collars so they know what the alternative would be to what's happening here, and be like, I will send you to the zoo.
I've got their phone number on speed dial.
Yeah,
boys.
if you keep eating my fence, you're going to Denmark.
That's right. But yeah, so the Danes are getting wild out there in their zoo.
Man, could you imagine if they I don't know. Like, how could you make that even worse? Like, check out this new donation. It's just photos of the pets that have been donated.
They have a wall.
There's like a little doggy death row that they've got on. My gosh. Oh, dude. How screwed would that be? You bring the family out to the zoo on the day that the predators are being fed. Just like, oh my God, is that Spot?
It's not a wall of pictures. It's a wall of the children's drawings of the pet that they did with crayons, like all of. Because it's a zoo. That's where the kids are. So That was my pet before the jaguar ate it.
Oh my god. I'm so sorry we have really twisted senses of humor, but come on, Denmark, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You're just taking pets. Like, are they that hard up for food? Jesus.
That's what I was wondering. I was
Like-
like, is it an economic thing? Are they having a hard time feeding
Right?
these animals that they needed to actually say, no one's coming to the zoo anymore. We've got all these damn tigers that
What,
we've got to
would
feed.
you have just killed to be in that boardroom? Like, I think we need to crowdsource it. Oh my god.
Did they start themselves? Like, they were like, hey, I just got rid of my cat because it was such a son of a bitch.
Dude, if I ever go into
That-
business for myself, my first hire is going to be the social media manager for the Denmark Zoo. I don't care. I don't care what it takes. For like,
Genius. That man is a genius.
I need a marketing campaign that only you can drive. Yeah, that's insane. When did this go out? Was that like this last week?
Yeah, it was.
My
This story
God.
came out on the 4th. So that what is that today?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Well, man, hang in there, Denmark. Keep an eye on your
Yeah.
pets. Don't
Yeah.
hire any new dog
Hopefully-
walkers.
Hopefully, yeah, they don't offer like reward cash
Oh God.
because at that point, the to incentivize it that way would be a whole different criminal element you would have to worry about. Because people swiping up everybody's pets and going,
Dude.
yep, here's your donations.
Yeah.
Like tweakers.
All
with
the dog
copper.
walkers have to go through a background check and stuff. Be like, I don't. You taking them to the zoo? I don't want you to go up north at all.
Yeah. No walking around the zoo. Yeah.
Little GPS tracker on your dog. Like they're headed north. Get them. You know.
Like tweakers with copper.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
There's been a string of those going on recently. I'm sure they've been going on since they were built, but those Tesla chargers with all the copper and all the wiring in there, they're just breaking them apart and stealing the raw materials to go sell them for scrap.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, Denmark, hang in there. We got tinfoil hats coming. We got a conspiracy
right.
corner this week, dude. I'm gonna let you
Well,
drive.
We promised that we would do a little bit of research
Yeah.
into the conspiracy corner concept of the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
There is a theory that the Titanic was not an accidental crash, that it was a planned and proposed crash in order to bring about a certain world governing agency, and that there were people who were on board that needed to be eliminated in order for that to happen.
Yep.
And that there were people who were supposed to be on that ship that did not get on that ship and ended up being the catalyst to creating what some and many would consider one of the most evil organizations in the world, that pulls the puppet strings of many other conspiracies and many other the lives of every human being, and
Right.
that would be the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Happening 1 year after the fated crash and sinking of the Titanic. And so in 1912, you had the sinking of the Titanic. And
We should preface a few opposite ends of the aisle here. So
Right.
JP Morgan owns was it White Star, the cruise
Yes.
liner that, okay, so he owns White
Mhm.
Star, so coincidentally owns the Titanic and her sister ship as part of the fleet, which is under the umbrella that he controls. He is also one of the biggest advocates for the Federal Reserve, and the detractors were other families, correct? And they
Right.
were set to vote on this thing going through sometime in the
In-
next 6, 8, 12 months, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was something that they had already proposed the Federal Reserve, and there were three people who were in stalwart opposition
Yeah.
to it. They all happened to get their tickets to the Titanic, and JP Morgan was supposed to be on that too, but then he at the very last minute got sick and could not get on,
Right.
or did not get on, and actually survived the incident. And then within a year's time, the Federal Reserve out on Jekyll Island was established, and
So whether there's
now
causation or not, we can at least align on the ingredients to the story based on the outcome is a bit suspect just to start. It is weird. It is weird
is.
that
there's
all the opposition
time
is on this
factor.
boat.
Right, but the tied in factor is, that a lot of people really want to bring into this is that they really wanted to create a central banking system, and it was the Rothschilds family behind the scenes doing all of these things.
Right.
Correct. So, and there was three members, John Jacob Astor, Benjamin Guggenheim, and an Isidor Strauss, who were all of the money elites and the banking magnates that were trying to avoid getting into a central banking system. They thought it would be a bad idea for humanity, so on and so forth, and that their fates were sealed at the bottom of the Atlantic. And so that is the running, and it really started gaining popularity in about 2017. Not that it started there. This idea there had been a couple of books written and stuff like that, but it really got internet steam in about 2017 that the Jewish banking conglomerate backed by the Rothschilds family and JP Morgan created this situation in order to eliminate these guys so that the Federal Reserve would go through.
Yeah.
That being said, I am not a believer of this particular theory. And it's due to the fact that there's way too many holes in the theory for it to even be remotely true. And
I would wholesale believe it with all my heart if it happened after 1947, but not way back in 1912.
Well, there was a lot of, still like heavy anti-Semitic stuff going on during World War One, which was right around, shortly after this time frame. And they often say that World War One and World War Two were a result of the Federal Reserve even becoming a thing.
That seems like that seems like a following a yellow brick road a little bit there. I mean, both world wars, like we had some different interested parties, same interested parties for different reasons both times. That said, I mean, that sounds like a CIA tactic, and they weren't invented until 47. So, like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, we didn't really start getting fucked up with take out the whole boat and no one will know until way after that. But sure, I mean, the seed of possibility is there, but perhaps not for the mainstream reasons that people like to point at, namely the detracting Jewish population amongst the ingredients provided. That seems like it's just another reason to pick on the Jews, in my opinion. But
exactly. Yeah. But the real reality of the situation is that all three members that died, Strauss and the other two, Guggenheim and Astor, they weren't opposed to the Federal Reserve. In fact, I believe Strauss actually supported it, and Astor and Guggenheim didn't appear to take any position on it. They actually did not. They weren't against it at all. But it wouldn't have mattered either way, because the three votes that they would have represented would have been outvoted when it came down to it on Jekyll Island anyway. There wasn't enough of people who were in opposition to the construction of the Federal Reserve.
The machine was going to happen anyway. Yeah,
absolutely. But these guys weren't even in opposition of it. So the entire construct of why these guys were even there,
just a false premise altogether.
false premise altogether. The other part also, that JP Morgan wasn't on the boat, and he had such heavy plans to be on the boat that he had even constructed his own bathroom where like he had like built-in cigar holders at his bathtub and all of these other things. He
You
first
don't
of
have
all,
built-in cigar holders in your bathroom?
one of the guys bought their ticket before JP Morgan. Like the timing was like they didn't know, they hadn't even bought his ticket when JP Morgan had bought his. So like JP Morgan was going to be on, and when he decided not to go, one of the other guys ended up buying a ticket. So like he didn't even know all three dudes were going to be on there. Like he just and he actually did get sick and was very upset that he didn't get to go, but was obviously relieved that he got ill.
Yeah, I would take a hard flu virus over an icy death in the North Atlantic for sure.
Yeah.
If I had to pick.
Those things, like as of 1911, like there was even newspaper articles and headlines that said, you know, Isidor Straus urges new banking plan. He was actually a part of it. Replies to J.J. Hill's attack on the National Reserve. So there were people who were against it, but it wasn't these three guys that were on the Titanic.
Yeah.
So, you know, Isidor Straus defends them and guess that the new monetary system will give them stability. He was actually all for it. So these guys that were on the Titanic were not some holdouts that would have derailed the federal banking system and the global banking systems.
Well, you'd have to imagine they would probably be cornerstone investors and would stand to gain a ridiculous amount of money, all three of them, if they were to buy in support of such a initiative, no matter what, because they had a considerable amount of wealth between them and would have been obvious targets for investment.
Yeah.
So
the three living would have done nothing to stop the bank from being launched, as the Federal Reserve Act easily passed both houses of Congress in 1913. So, and the U.S. had already attempted a central banking system several times previously. Beyond that, sources of the time have Guggenheim booking his spot on the ship after Morgan canceled, meaning the conspiracy very nearly wouldn't have worked in the first place. So like none of it lines up.
Right.
But man, will they blur out some areas and stretch some stories in order to somehow connect the obvious tragedy that became a James Cameron movie.
Yeah.
Which really Rose is the tragedy of all of that because she was such a horrible person. That
Rose is the consummate villain of that story. Fucking come at me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I don't know. Every Christmas on my wish list, every year, I wish for the Internal Revenue Service to audit the Federal Reserve Bank, which is no more federal than Federal Express. But I don't think they will. Yeah, it does seem convenient that a lot of the major historical facts seem to get lost with a cool conspiracy theory like that. I'm glad you looked into it, for sure.
It would make a real, because you know, I kind of followed that rabbit trail, but I never really
well, it's salacious for sure.
Yeah, and it's fun to think about. Wow, that's probably what happened.
Right.
They probably took out the biggest cruise liner ever made.
Well, they
took
went
it out to.
They went so deep, like, well, and you know, people that survived heard explosions in the bottom of the ship, and it wasn't it just crumpling and cracking from a bad design, the way we've all been led to believe. Like this was They had
Well,
planted explosives. They took them out, man.
Yeah.
This was a hit.
The idiot Stu Peters, the guy that has his own show, Stu Peters, who's gone completely off the rails with anti-Israel stuff.
Never heard of him. Yeah.
He actually is claiming that the reason that what they made a bunch of documentaries, the submersible,
the beer can that went down with the PS2 controller.
Right. Yeah. That one. That was they intended to kill those guys.
Well, that's not the documentary I watched on it.
Right, not at all.
I thought that guy was fucking whack job.
Oh yeah, and that was sent down there. They were going to find out that there was actually explosives that actually took it out, and they couldn't let it happen.
Yeah.
So they crushed that can. And he has gone down so far down the rabbit trail because he wants it so badly to be the fault of the Jews that he can't, like, they'll tie any strings together that they can in order to create that narrative. And the reality is we don't know what happened, but we know that it had nothing to do with the Federal Reserve Bank, and the guys who were on it had nothing to do with it. So it, to me, at this point, is a historical tragedy.
Yeah.
And I'm prone to think in the same line of thought of, like, tied together historical moments that, you know, that create the conspiracy why we wear these hats, right? I love going down those you know, thought experiments, but this one is not it. This one, like, it is 100% the boat crashed and fell into the ocean. A ton of people died and some people lived, and then a year later, which was already in process at that point.
Yeah.
A year later, the Federal Reserve, with an act of Congress, with an almost unanimous vote from the Federal Reserve Board on Jekyll Island and then through Congress, got put into play, and we're all worse off for it. It wasn't great, but it wasn't connected to the Titanic in any capacity. There's probably a lot of other conspiracies that we could definitely attribute to the Federal Reserve. The Titanic just isn't one of them.
9/11.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of newer ones that we absolutely could, but this one,
I have such an ethical stance on that one. I'm not even sure I could stomach going through it if the truth is to be revealed that it was an inside job, but it's something I definitely want to know. And I don't think we have enough evidence on either side to actually go down that rabbit hole to make a statement. So perhaps one day we'll get more information, but there's so much that doesn't make sense on that one, you know?
On which one?
9/11.
Oh yeah.
Where you're just like,
sure.
how could that have happened in that way? It couldn't have happened that way. But
no.
That would be its own pod, I think, rather than just Conspiracy Corner.
Yeah. We need the whole room, not just the corner.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, there you have it. The people that were detractors from the Federal Reserve's inception actually maybe weren't, after all. And it maybe just was a horrible tragedy with terrible design and a whole bunch of rushed judgment and decision making by the operators of the boat. Man.
Yeah. So that's basically the research I spent doing. You know, I went into it with one mindset of trying to connect it, and the more I read into it, the more I realized I was like, yeah, it just couldn't have happened.
Yeah, there's not enough ties that bind on that one to sink us their way. I don't know how to put that. It's a tragedy. I shouldn't try and make light of it. Well, there you have it. Titanic, not a Federal Reserve problem, simply just a boat problem.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you see, now that I take this hat off, I can go back into regular mode. But
I don't even remember what we were just talking about. And the hat's on, everything's just gone. Did I see what?
I watched a few movies this week.
Yeah.
Oddly, I had weird timing on stuff where I actually saw 2 movies at home and one in the theater. And so I saw three things, which sometimes I struggle to get one in,
Yeah.
and this time I just happened to catch three. So the first movie I saw, and I was pretty excited about it because I was a big fan of the director. And the director is David Yarovesky, and he did the Brightburn movie, which was kind of the Superman story with the little kid, but he's evil.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed Brightburn. So I was kind of curious to see what this guy's kind of follow up to that was. And the cast for the movie called Locked is Bill Skarsgård, which we've been enjoying a lot of his
Big
work
fan.
lately. Yeah, Boy Kills World was probably a highlight of the reviews we've done recently. And then Anthony Hopkins, and anything Anthony Hopkins touches, pretty much I'll watch.
Yeah.
So, and it follows the story of a young man who's a father who's trying not to be a deadbeat, living in the inner city, can't, he's borderline small time criminal, and he's trying to be a good dad, but he's just not cutting it, and he's can't come up with the money to get his van to go pick up his daughter, and he's kind of your basic street thief. He keeps eyeballing stuff in the garage and getting yelled at by the owner, "Get out of here, you thief," and that kind of thing. And he's in a desperate situation where he's got to get to go pick up his daughter, or he's going to lose even visitation with his daughter. And he's cruising through the city, trying to come up with some ideas, trying to call everybody he knows. He's at the end of his rope. He doesn't really know what to do. And he sees this really nice SUV in a random, parking lot in the middle of it. And he just goes to go, pull the handles and figure out what's inside. And so he gets in, he starts digging through. It's open. So he gets in, it's really nice. He starts digging through everything, not finding anything. And so then he goes to leave, and he can't get out of the car. And it's all locked, and so he starts trying to beat on the windows. No one can hear him. They're coming in, looking in the windows, adjusting their makeup. He's realizing that it's all soundproof, and he can't rock it either. Like, it's stabilized. And he doesn't know what to do. And then the dashboard screen starts calling. It's a phone call, and it's this older gentleman, regal older gentleman, obviously Anthony Hopkins, who's told him, basically, "I'm sick and tired of street riffraff hurting me and my family, and I'm super rich, and the cops will never do anything, so I've decided to go vigilante and take care of this kind of stuff myself." And basically, it's a hour and a half of dialogue between him, and it kind of wrestles with some philosophy, and does a fairly good job of that, like going through, what does society create the criminal, or does the criminal create the society kind of concepts, and what, where does someone coming from lower privilege in adjustment to someone coming from higher privilege, and where do they meet in the middle? And so it's kind of exploring those kind of concepts, because it turns out this street kid is a well-read street kid, and he's got the whole car rigged for heat and cold and shocking and all these things, and he's starving him, and he's depriving him of water, and the guy's in the car for like over a week, and he's trying to get out of it, and keeps going through these weird scenarios. It was a little dry. I felt like the movie could have been a little bit more creative in the aspect of like keeping the watcher engaged. I kept waiting for something more substantial to happen, but we kind of just were sitting in a car with Bill Skarsgård waiting for something to happen. And there's I don't know, I wouldn't say it's shocking. The ending is adequate,
Okay.
but also kind of left open. And so you don't really get a whole lot of resolution in the end. It was okay. It was not what I really wanted from this film, and it's not what I wanted from this director, and it's not what I wanted from these actors. These actors both did a really good job within the context of the script that they were handed.
Yeah.
The director, I think, stylistically made it really pretty to watch, but substance-wise, the movie didn't give me enough for like a rewatchability ever again. Like,
Yeah.
you watch it once and you got it, and it didn't leave the impression that I was hoping that it would leave. But I would say that I probably 6,
Mm-hmm.
like a 6 megs, you know. It's fun for, like, if you've got nothing else to watch, you can put it on and kind of go through the slow burn of a philosophical exercise, essentially. And it's not bad. It's just not great.
Yeah.
And that's all. So yeah, 6 megs for Locked. The next one I saw, and I'll be honest, I missed probably the first 10 to 15, like 10 minutes of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I got the gist of it by just kind of scooping in at the first, you know. And I don't know if it's necessary for me to even see the first 10 minutes, but it pulled me away from my phone enough
Yeah.
to because it happened to come on. Aaron was sleeping and it happened to come on. I didn't actually intend to watch it, but I had been told by other people, friends, that it was actually really good. It's not what you think, and they were right. It wasn't what I thought at all. And this is Heads of State, which is, I think, a Netflix property. Oh no, Amazon Prime. So it was an Amazon Prime property, and it stars John Cena and Idris Elba. Which I always like Idris Elba in things.
I do too.
John Cena's growing on me in certain roles.
Yeah.
Like, I really like him in the Suicide Squad role and stuff like that. But and basically John Cena plays a president of the United States who was basically an action movie star, kind of a Arnold Schwarzenegger, or, you know, kind of a play on the Trump kind of thing. But he's fairly leftist, you know. He's a left-leaning kind of guy, but he's all hope. He thinks that he can use his, you know, his life and talents of being an action star to bring hope to people around the world. People kind of think that on the world stage, think that he's a joke. But he's having a meeting with the Prime Minister of England, who is Idris Elba, who does not respect him and does not like him. And of course, they get into a situation where Air Force One there's some a terrorist organization that needs to take them out. And there's a coup going on in the background, and you don't know who the bad guy is. And they meet up with they get shot down over like Eastern Europe, and they survive. The rest of the plane doesn't, and they have to do basically this action-paced buddy cop scenario where they don't get along, but they got to work together, and then by the end of it, they come to a mutual understanding, and da right? And they run into Idris Elba's ex, who is like part of some activist organization where they were actually like terrorists, you know, and from his past, and it's his ex-girlfriend. And
makes perfect sense. That would not come up in the due diligence of a prime minister from that country, but hey.
Right, yeah. Totally. So and it was really fun. The dialogue was funny. The action was crazy good. It was a lot of fun to watch. And, you know, I think they did a really good job with it. until the end when you realize that it is 100% like one of the people that is part of his cabinet, like they're starting to suspect each other because one of them is the leak, the one that is behind them, the terrorism stuff, right?
Sure.
And one of them gets accused of being, well, aren't you America First? Isn't that how you got elected?
No
Isn't
plot
it
armor at all. We're just going right in.
None.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, and of course they're the bad guy.
Mhm.
And what ends up happening is you realize that this whole movie, they're basically the plot is to get rid of these two guys so that they don't go to the UN meeting where their votes will matter and they'll sway more votes because the bad guy wants to dismantle the United Nations.
Yeah.
And go full isolationist and doesn't want to have anything to do with the rest of the world, right? So this was a absolutely pro, in your face, pro globalism movie.
Yeah.
UN is great. The UN's wonderful. We should protect it at all costs.
Everyone gets blue hats. We're just going to shit on MAGA.
Yeah,
let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was so ham-fisted that it just like ruined the whole movie. So, and it could have been great. It was, the action was just, and the humor was on point.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a really good job with this film until you did not have a choice other than to be on the side of the globalists,
right?
Of the ones that would rather America,
like Scooby-Doo, and they pull off the bad guy mask, and it's really Michael Moore. Like, oh,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So yeah, and it really kind of killed it for me because the rest of the movie was enough to like keep me captivated until the reveal at the end, and then it was like, oh wow, what a bait and switch. And so I was kind of angry when I got done with it, but I would say if I was to give it Megs, if the ending wasn't there, I would have given it probably a solid, like a 7.5 to the end Megs.
Sure.
It was really fun. But because of what I felt like they tricked the audience intentionally,
slid a knife between your rib cage there at the end.
Yeah. And they did it so over the top, ham-fisted that like it was offensive to the point of like, are you kidding me? Like, you're not even going to hide it. You're not going to be subtle about it. You're not going to like play kind of philosophical tricks with it. Mm-hmm. Nothing. You're just going to be like, give you the bird at the end. And I'm like, it was so bad. So it dropped it down to 4.5 megs for me, and ass end of the meg. So 4.5 ass end.
Before we move on to the last movie, just a quick sidetrack. Speaking of leftists throwing temper tantrums overtly, did you happen to catch any of the exciting coverage of Stephen Colbert's rally the troops to go protest outside of the CBS headquarters?
I saw snippets of it. I didn't actually look into it.
Apparently, like 24 people showed up, and they immediately just shut up shop and left. And they were just like, didn't work, I guess. Wah, wah.
The call to action on that just was fizzled out.
He did tell President Trump to go fuck himself, though, so that was kind of fun. But it quickly fizzled out. And everyone's like, yeah, I mean, you cost us $40 million a year, dude. Like, you're a bad investment. So
goodbye.
It was funny. Yeah. Anyway, on to the next movie. Sorry. It's just like, speaking of leftists and tantrums.
Yeah. And I couldn't be happier for the Colbert thing, though. That guy was a schlocky idiot. Anyway, so the film that I actually went to the movie theaters this week on Sunday with the wife and my son and his girlfriend, we went to go see the Fantastic Four. And the new Fantastic Four film, which it's Fantastic Four First Steps. and it's directed by relatively newcomer Matt Shackman, who has a ton of directorial credits, but they're all television. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is his first film, which is very interesting to me that like Feige would put a somebody untested at the helm of this particular franchise, which has had two rough starts, and actually, if you really want to consider it, three rough starts, because there was a 90s version that has been lost to time. But the Jessica Alba version that they made two movies of were I've tried to go back and watch those, just because it was like, maybe they have nostalgia, and they just don't. They're just really bad.
No.
They're terrible films.
The best part of the Fantastic Four was the appearance of Johnny Blaze in Deadpool 2 when we all thought it was Captain America.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then it's Johnny Storm. Johnny Blaze is actually Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
But then they tried to revamp it in like 2015 or 16, like something like that, and it was also atrocious.
Yeah,
it was not a good telling. It was not a good take. It was cast completely wrong. It was just not it was too dark. It wasn't at all connected to the source material of comic books, and being a comic book nerd, obviously, the Fantastic Four is considered, Marvel royalty. Yeah. It's considered Marvel royalty. They are the first family and of Marvel, and there's even though they were never really my favorite team, everyone kind of carves out a little piece of their heart for the Fantastic Four if you're a Marvel fan. And it's because they are so integral to the makeup that Marvel became. Like, a lot of characters wouldn't exist. A lot of the world wouldn't exist. Jack Kirby really cut his teeth on the Fantastic Four. They were so iconic throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and then they got pulled along with the rest of the Marvel universe into the 90s and 2000s, being less of the forefront than they used to be, but they were top notch in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And everyone has a soft spot for the Thing and the humanistic plight that he's always.
I liked Michael Chiklis's Thing.
Yeah, I think the makeup effects were not so great, but Michael Chiklis did a pretty decent job. But this particular film, I was very worried about, obviously. First of all, they're going to try to tackle Galactus again, and they did it so poorly. And it's a hard concept. That is a world-eating gigantic alien. Is not an easy concept to really kind of encapsulate into film and not have it look very, very odd. And then on top of that, I wasn't really sure about the cast. I really liked John Krasinski when he was in, and that was my vote even before he got that role in the second Doctor Strange movie. I've always thought him and actually his wife Emily Blunt would have been the great, Sue and Reed Richards, and but. And I have, like you, I have Pedro Pascal fatigue. Like, he's in everything, and so I was not happy about that casting. I also, although I like Julie Garner, the idea of the female version of the Silver Surfer being in this was kind of like, I didn't know what they were going at. I didn't know what they were playing at. Like, Norrin Radd is the Silver Surfer. Sure, there's been other like timeline variables of them, and they chose one out of the comics. She did exist, but it just doesn't seem like the quintessential one. But they've already used Norrin Radd in the other one, So I was like, all right, well, let's see what they can do here. Um, I'll be honest, I really enjoyed this one.
Nice.
I was came into it very skeptical, arms crossed, not liking a lot of the decisions that were made right out of the gate. Um, I forgot it was Pedro Pascal, and I
Hmm.
was not happy about that casting. But he pulled off an emotional understanding of that character that I don't think any of the other actors even like had ever read. I feel like he read the comics. I feel like he actually knew who Reed was and how he is in the comics, distracted, smart beyond comprehension, but like emotionally stunted,
Hmm.
and then coming back into reality and getting checked by Sue, going, "Hey, you gotta think about us every once in a while." Oh yeah, I'm sorry, you know. And that he pulled it off so well that I forgot it was Pedro Pascal. Um, the dynamic of the family, the dynamic structure between Sue and her brother, Johnny and Ben, uh, Johnny and his brother-in-law. Like they really built the characters up. They really focused on the family. It was not woke. There wasn't a woke thing in this movie. I was so blown away that they did not inject just a little bit here or
Yeah.
there, right? Um, it was it was fantastic. But it was um, yeah, but it was they focused so heavily on the family and that and special effects, storyline, timing, humor. uh we all came out of that. Even my wife was just like, that was so good. And the
Nice.
rewatchability of it is going to be fantastic. It's going to be excellent. And I've got to stop saying fantastic.
Hey, we're just gonna
Yeah.
throw the finger
um
guns every time.
but
Paul Osby
it
says,
was
"Love to hear it's not woke." Me too.
yeah.
Me too, brother.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I was obviously on the lookout for it, and I was like trying to go, where is it? You know, where is it? But man, I enjoyed the humor. The storyline was really good. They did a lot of really cool homages to the comics, like the cover to the original Fantastic Four #1 is in the movie. You
Hmm.
know, like they did a whole bunch of really cool callbacks to the comics. You know, they brought in Herbie. They they had their car. They had all of and it's set in this really cool kind of mid-century modern, you know, mid 1960s kind of world. Like the city that they live in is
Yeah.
all kind of built around it, and you know, some really cool name drops and other characters like Mole Man is in it. And they did a really good job with Mole Man. They didn't kind of try to take him into modern looking era. They really kind of stuck to the character development that was in the comic books.
He
There
didn't
was
just look
so
like a
many.
furry.
No, yeah. So they, you know, they didn't try to turn him into the Rhino,
Sure.
you know, stuff like that. They just did a really good job of really taking the heart of what the Fantastic Four was to Marvel and put it on screen. And I think it was a really good reset for Marvel franchise if they're willing to look at this as such a heavy success, which financially apparently it is. It's killing it financially, which is
No, nice.
great because hopefully that leads them to go, okay, this is the trajectory we need to follow. Um, but uh it was fun. I had fun at the movies. I had fun watching it. Um, it was nostalgic, but also was available to newer audiences. I think they really did a clear cut job of taking the core material and going, this is what you were looking for all along.
Hmm.
And so I would say that I would give it probably 8.5 megs with
Nice.
the toothy end.
Nice.
So yeah,
It's a lot of megs.
so it is. It was one of the more enjoyable um like movie theater experiences I've had in a while, and
Hmm.
it was really good. So
Nice. That's a full week of movies, dude.
Ooh, yeah, it was. So
Heck yeah. What do we got? We got The Gospel by Gen Z.
let's do it.
We still got it. We did the crucifixion last week, which I'm still laughing about. Into
Yeah.
the DMs, I slide my spirit. Too good. Where are we? We're at the resurrection. Why not? With Sebastiano Ricci, beautiful painting, 1715. Very nice. Well put together. The resurrection. I love these 2-pagers. 3 to 5 business days later, Jesus hit Control Z. For by his life, he earned Uno reverse card and used it on death itself. The woman who saw him unalive in 4K went to the tomb to give his body a proper glow down, and behold, biblically accurate angels spawned and rolled the stone back. They said to the woman, "Bruh, have you not yet understood the assignment?" Holy Bro took the dub from Hades like he said he would, and it was sending them, so they ran to the 12 and spilled all the tea. But bros thought they were just in a silly, goofy mood, but Peter and John knew they weren't playing, so they yeeted to the tomb and said, and it's just, oh my god, emoji face followed by a handwriting on a scroll. And then they skirted back. But Mary Magdalene said, oh my god, mood. It was it was she from whom Jesus yeeted 7 demons. Some angel asked her why she was in her feels, and she said, because they took my BSF and I don't have his at. For she caught holy feelings, as Christ's love was so bussin'. And she turned and saw Holy Bro, but she did not yet know he was him. And he said, what you need, baby girl? But she thought he was a gardener, so she said, what I need is his at. I need it right now. Please don't let him give me an Irish goodbye. And Sacred Blood said, Mary. And the scream she scrumped was unbelievable, for now she knew he was him for real, for real. But he said, do not blow up my notifs, for I have not yet handed the dub to my father, but I'll go tell my fam I'm about to pull up. Later, Jesus met 2 of his bros on a road trip. They also did not know he was him, for he hid the glow up. And he said, why y'all in your feels, broskies? And they said, bruh, haven't you heard? It's on everyone's FYP and it has over 100 million views. Jesus said, heard what? That Jesus was a real one. One of the divine dad lore, but the Karens had him permanently canceled, and we were hoping he was the one who comes in clutch. But Jesus said, how do you still not understand the assignment? That the main character plays chess while everyone's playing checkers, and he unlocked the meaning of the divine dad lore to them. So they said, bro, let's chill for a while, and it was fire. And Jesus used a transition edit to suddenly be somewhere else. And they said, bro, what? He really was him for real, for real. Similarly, Jesus just casually appeared to many of his BSFs, I'm guessing best friends. And when some of them spilled the tea to Thomas, he said, nah, y'all doing too much for this prank. Quit playing. But a week later, Jesus pulled up and said, Ayo, Thomas, what's going on? How many times did he poke Jesus? Finally, Thomas said, okay, not gonna lie, Divine Bro is valid, for real, for real. Holy Bro said, do you stand me because you received my at? Based are they who have not my at yet stand me. Based are they who have not my at yet stand me. Sick.
That's my favorite line in the Bible, actually.
We, friends of the podcast, we have one more Gospel by Gen Z story before the book is over. Just one. And it will mark the end of an era for this podcast. So tune in next week because it'll be the last Gospel by Gen Z. What a ride it's been.
I'm super sad about that because I have enjoyed every last passage and have learned so much of. Weirdly, I've learned nothing about the Bible because I knew all of that, but I've actually learned more about the communication skills of
Yeah.
the generation below me and in representation through biblical text, which is hilarious that it worked in reverse, that I wasn't learning about the Bible because
Yeah.
I needed it put into the context of language. I knew the context of the Bible. I needed it to learn the language
Right.
because I can decipher. I was like, I know what they're saying in the Bible. So now I know what these words mean in context.
Yeah,
to
like
the
I can't
Bible
speak
now.
it fluently, but I could probably get by in the Gen Z country if it were one, as far as like how to
Right.
use the restroom and order food.
Yeah, exactly.
Friend of the podcast, Paul says I need Google Translate, and I think we do too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, factually correct. So what do we got coming up? You're a couple weeks out. You're gonna be back down here. We mentioned that
I
last
am.
week. I'm excited for it.
Yep.
Anything else big going
20
on in your neck of the woods coming up?
Not that I can think of. I am kind of prepping for my trip down to your neck of the woods,
Mhm.
and that will be the 21st through the 26th. I will be at Mad Monk Tattoo. Hit me up
Nice.
if you want to get work done if you're listening and near that area. Hit us up on social media. I'm going to be playing around there tonight on X and on Facebook. And so hit us up if you want to chat. And if you've got maybe some ideas for next week's Conspiracy Corner, if you want me to explore a topic that might interest you. But outside of that, no, I don't think I have any other. I just got work this week, I think.
Yeah.
So, but outside of
I
that,
am also off work from the evening of the 22nd all the way to the 1st. So
nice.
I was like, I have way, way too much unused vacation time. I'm going to take that week off. And they were like, granted. So,
Sweet. I'm super excited about that.
yeah.
So
Awesome.
cool.
Well, I think, friends, I think that's it for me this week. So, I suppose that's a good night and adieu. We'll catch up with you next Tuesday. Sounds good?
Sounds good to me.
Sweet.